Was the Monster deal a minor win for the Big 12? Welcome into Overtime with Matt Moscona. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Big 12 Media Days was held this past week at the Star in Frisco, Texas. And part of Media Days, one of the big headlines was that the conference has reached an exclusive deal with Monster Energy drinks. And part of that deal, the deliverables are pretty massive. There will be 48 teams in the Big 12 that will wear jersey patches with Big 12 Monster Energy logos on them. The football, men's and women's basketball teams, and there will be field and court logos for all schools as well. So this seems like a massive amount of deliverables. In addition to the jersey patches and the court logos, there'll be signage and mic flags at Big 12 events. It's the naming rights of the conference. It's the Monster Energy Big 12 is how they're going to refer to it now. So this is a large scale of deliverables. And the reason people are cracking on the Big 12 for this deal is that the conference is getting $20 million annually in exchange for this deal. So when you actually crunch the numbers, typically the way these things work, and the Big 12 hasn't released the specifics, but typically there are equal shares of this revenue that are distributed. So for example, there's 16 members of the Big 12 and the league office. So typically all 16 members and the league office get an equal share. So if you take $20 million, and I don't really do math, but I got a calculator. If you take $20 million and divide that 17 ways, right? The 16 members of the Big 12 and the league office, that comes out to $1.176 million per year, just under $1.2 million per year per school of additional revenue. So you're looking and going, man, if you're going to put a jersey patch on the football, men's and women's basketball jerseys, the logo on the field and on the court for basketball games across the entire league, and mic flags and signage, and you're renaming the league the Monster Energy Big 12, shouldn't that be worth more than $1.176 million per school per year? It seems like an awful lot. And I agree, by the way. But there is one part of this that does make a little bit of sense. Bear with me. I'm going to get back to why it's probably not a great deal. But why it's also maybe the best deal the Big 12 could have done. But remember, this does not preclude schools from doing their own jersey patch deal. So it's certainly possible that any member of the Big 12 could do their own jersey patch deal in addition to this deal that the league did with Monster. So just think about whatever school you cheer for probably has the conference logo. Like SEC football puts the circular SEC emblem right on the V of the neck. The Big 12 has the Big 12 logo patch on the shoulder pad. Well, very likely what's going to happen now is where that Big 12 logo patch is on the jersey will now likely also include the Monster Energy drink. We haven't seen a sample of the jersey patch yet that hasn't been leaked or distributed, but I'm assuming that's what it's going to look like. But that doesn't preclude any school from selling their own jersey patch deal. So in one way, you could look at this and say, well, it's kind of free money, right? It's a revenue source that didn't exist before. We can still go sell our own jersey patch deal and then have this in addition to what we sell for jersey patches or court logos or whatever. Now, the counter argument to that is that you're going to be, quote unquote, NASCARing up the uniform of the floor. And quite honestly, I just don't care. I think we as fans make way too big of a deal of that because we don't honestly care. It's something where we clutch our pearls and we talk about the sacredness of the sport and how is everything for sale. And then they tee it up, kick it off, and none of us care about the logo on the field. We see this in conference championship games and in playoff games. I mean, just think about the Big 12 championship game, for example. Well, You got the Big 12 championship game sponsored by Dr. Pepper, big Dr. Pepper logo on the field. And then you got jersey patches with sponsors on it. And we don't think of it in those terms. Go to bowl games. It's the same thing with a giant logo. If it's the Verbo Fiesta Bowl or the All-State Sugar Bowl, the giant Sugar Bowl logo in midfield of the Superdome has the big All-State logo on it. None of us actually care about that. It doesn't diminish our enjoyment of watching this. Listen, I live in Baton Rouge. I went to LSU. I've watched LSU win 3 national championships since 2003. And in every one of those games, the players were wearing patches with the bowl game that had jersey spot that had sponsors on those jersey patches. And I don't think any less of Joe Burrow's 2019 national championship because the college football playoff logo had a sponsorship on it. It's just part of sports now, and we understand it. You just accept that's the price to play. It's not going to diminish or reduce our enjoyment in any way. We complain about it in the moment and we move on. So I'm not really worried about if the Big 12 logo has a Monster Energy logo or patch has a logo, and then you have another jersey patch sponsor for an individual school on the other side. It just whatever. I'm more looking, say, why are you doing it? Does it make sense financially? Now, the why you're doing it is something that at this point, I think just the actions are the evidence, right? And I say often, actions speak louder than words. It's one of my favorite sayings in life. You followed any of my content. And the bottom line is every single athletic department right now is trying to figure out, ever since the House settlement went through and revenue share became a thing, every single athletic department that wants to compete at the highest level has to now share $20.5 million of its revenue with its players. What that means is everybody, every school now instantly had a $20 million line item added to their budget. Let me try to make this make sense, okay? At most Americans, a large portion of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. This is not a judgment. It's not I'm not pointing. I'm just giving an illustration. I think most people can understand, relate to, or at some point in your life could understand it. Even if you're successful in your career, at some point in your life you were probably paycheck to paycheck. But imagine a family that's on a budget, and you basically what comes in goes out. Right? You have your mortgage or your rent, your car note, gas, grocery bill, utilities, all, and if you're a 2-income household, and all the money you make in a month pays for all those things to live. There's not a lot left over. Okay, so you live check to check. And then imagine that in one fell swoop, all of a sudden, boom, now you have $2,000 a month more. Something comes into your budget that you have to now pay for. Kids' school or a medical expense or something, right? You have to buy a new car. Now you have a new car note, whatever. And it's a giant financial commitment that, like, it's not as easy saying, we're just not going to eat out this month. It's a perpetual expense now in your budget that you were not anticipating that changes the math. So you have two options. You cut spending somewhere. You go get another job to make more money to try to fill that gap. And in some instances, even if you get another job and cut spending, you still don't fill the gap all the way. That's where college athletic departments are. Keep in mind, most college athletic departments do not turn a profit. This blows people's mind. Trev Albert, the A&M athletic director, said it best. College athletics does not have a revenue problem. College athletics has a spending problem. Look at any college athletic department. In fiscal 2025, LSU brought in $223 million in revenue. $223 million, almost $250 million in revenue in 1 year. They spent $219 million in that year. So they turned a profit of less than $4 million. So, and you say $4 million, but when you're on $223 million in revenue and you only end up in the black $4 million, and now all of a sudden you have a $20 million line item in your budget because now you have to share $20.5 million of that revenue, that 223 I talked about, the 223 million. Now you have to share 20 million of that. When you were only in the black by about $3-4 million, now you have to add $20 million to your budget. How do you pay for it? You say, well, cut expenses. Okay. What do? Do you cut out sports altogether? Remember, you have to participate in 16 sports to be sanctioned, to be within NCAA compliance. You can't just go cut all these sports to reduce revenue. You want to just fire all your coaches and all your staff? Even if you did that, it's still not enough to make up you can't cut $20 million in expenses out of your operating budget. And if it were easy to just find $20 million in revenue, why wouldn't you have done it already? The point being, every single opportunity that teams or schools or leagues have to go turn over the couch cushions and scrap for change in the couch cushions, they're going to do, because every little bit helps. That's why you're seeing jersey patches. It's why you're seeing field logos. It's why you're seeing, quite honestly, an expanded college football playoff. When for so long college football was resistant to an expanded playoff, the reason they've very quickly gone from 4 to 12 to now the conversation about 16 or 24 is the easiest way to drive up revenues is television contracts. So if you add more inventory to the college football playoff, why did they just add games to the NCAA tournament? More TV inventory that's going to drive up revenues when everyone is trying to find more money. So in this instance, nobody, I think, is going to look at $1.176 million a year and do backflips and say that's going to change the world. But it's $1.176 million you didn't have before that helps close that gap to keep you competitive. And it's real estate that you weren't making money on prior and doesn't preclude these schools from selling individually. Now, the question is, did the Big 12 actually do a good deal? Not that they did the deal. It's did they do a good deal? And I want to give a hat tip to Ben Chase. He's on Twitter at Ben G Chase. If you want to give him a follow, he's the head of NIL and sports entertainment for the Sandberg Phoenix law firm. He's the former NIL director for the Florida Gators. And this week, when the Big 12 deal was announced, he had a great tweet or post on X, if you want to go check it out, where he lays out a lot of info. It's a long post where he lays out a lot of information about some jersey patch deals where the particulars have been released. For example, UNLV got $11 million over 5 years for football and then men's and women's basketball patches. So $11 million over 5 years. That's about a little more than $2 million per year. That's UNLV. That got a little more than $2 million per year. And that's football, men's and women's basketball. And that's just the jersey patch. This is jersey patch and field court logos for all the teams at 1.176. So UNLV got more value out of their lone jersey patch than the entire Big 12 did. Wyoming, $4.5 million for 5 years. So it's a little under $1 million per year. Washington State, $8.43 million over 5 years. So that's a little more than $1 million per. So basically, Washington State got an equivalent value for its jersey patch that the Big 12 did for its league-wide deal. I think that's where a lot of people are looking who are on the inside of the industry and saying, yeah, like the idea is good. The valuation is where you just whiffed on this one with the Big 12. Now, maybe Monster looked at it and said, yeah, if we had an exclusivity with every team, maybe we'd pay more. But the fact that every team in the conference could go do their own deal. I mean, Arizona State, Baylor, BYU, Central Florida, Cincinnati, Colorado, Houston, Iowa State, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, TCU, Texas Tech, Utah, and West Virginia. Those are your Big 12 schools. They could all go do their own jersey patch deal. So it does dilute a little bit the value of the Monster deal. But I think maybe the bigger storyline here is that it underscores how little value the Big 12 teams individually have. And I don't mean for this to be just a shot at the Big 12, but we know this for years. Texas and Oklahoma floated that league forever. And I think Brett Yormark actually did a masterful job when Texas and OU left, keeping that league together. Remember, it was the Pac-12 that ultimately folded, with the entire Pac-12 getting gutted. So I think Yormark did an awesome job of, against many odds, of keeping that league together after its two biggest brands left. The Pac-12 couldn't hold together after Southern Cal, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington went to the Big Ten. But I still think this illustrates the issue. For example, CNBC recently released their college athletics valuations. So they looked at the top 75 college athletic departments and what their valuation is, okay? So this isn't just like a football program. It's like, what is the entire LSU or Texas or Ohio State or Michigan or Arizona athletic department worth? If you looked at that as a business entity, what's it worth? They looked at the top 75. Like Texas was number one, valued at $1.48 billion. Ohio State, Texas A&M, Georgia, Michigan was 5. Notre Dame, Tennessee, Southern Cal, Alabama, Nebraska, that's your top 10. Penn State, 11. LSU, 12. Oklahoma, 13. Florida, Kentucky, Oregon, that's your top 16. Wisconsin. You notice something here? All those schools are in the SEC or the Big Ten. The highest ranked ACC school is Clemson at 18. The highest ranked Big 12 school is University of Kansas, in large part due to its basketball program, of course. But Kansas at 39. For context, the lowest valuation for an SEC athletic department is Mississippi State at 38. So the lowest ranked, the lowest value on an SEC athletic department is Mississippi State at 38. The highest valued Big 12 athletic department is Kansas at 39. It just goes to show you that the Big 12 brands are just not relevant. It's not something that big brands are willing to partner with individually at scale. So Kansas, I mentioned, is 39. Oklahoma State at 41. Baylor at 42. Iowa State at 46. Colorado at 47. Texas Tech at 49. TCU at 50. I mean, you get the point, right? You have these schools that are not big brands, that don't carry massive amounts of awareness and brand equity that a sponsor is going to want to overpay for in that instance. So I think the lesson learned here is everybody, every school, every conference, every athletic department, every program is looking for new revenues. And the reality is Monster might have gotten away with highway robbery here, or maybe the reality is what the Big 12 already knew, which is that their brands aren't very strong. And when your brands aren't very strong, you take what you can get. And at this point, when you're trying to close a massive financial gap, every bit helps, including a $1.176 million per school per year deal that's going to give Monster Energy a ton of awareness. The one other thing, though, to keep in mind that maybe the Big 12 did well in this instance is it is a regular season deal, meaning the Big 12 championship games, which are sponsored by, as we mentioned, Dr. Pepper, that can continue. So if the Big 12 wants to strike additional deals for its conference championship games, it can do that in addition to this regular season deal with Monster Energy. That's my take on it. What's yours? Be sure to drop your comments and let me know. Hey, if you're on a podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video right here on Overtime with Matt.